It's time once again for WRC Creator Series Round 2. We are in Rally Finland in some four-wheel drive WRC cars. It's going to be oh so glorious. And joining me in the commentary box tonight is Joseph. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very excited. I haven't been I haven't been to WRC at all in 2025, so it'll be great to get a taster once again.
Yeah, for sure. And what a rally to get a taster with. Rally Finland's probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular, possibly behind Rally Monte Carlo. So we started with the Monte, and now we go straight on to one of the most popular rounds. This is going to be one of the fastest gravel rounds. And indeed, with the season starter, it was very, very close between multiple drivers with many, many top times, many top contenders in the Creator Series. And the problem in Monte, as we will find out in Finland, is consistency. Not hitting trees, not going down cliffs, not going up banks is the way you want to keep it on the track to get a good result. But that's going to be anything but simple today. And do you have any expectations as to your second time in the WRC comms box?
As you mentioned, consistency is key. Consistency is key in all sorts of racing, and this sort of thing, especially in rally, is where consistency is so important. And the drivers tonight will be looking they're going to be looking to keep it on the gravel. They're going to be looking to just keep it in the straight line. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you're doing pretty well when you're in a rally car.
Yeah. I mean, in a straight line, they might be that way. And for about, I don't know, 0.2 of a second, usually we see they're sending it sideways in places where they should be going straight. So it'll be very, very interesting. Obviously, Rally Finland, a lot of difference compared to other rallies. You've got a lot of jumps. It's known for its iconic long jumps and sideways jumps and jumps where you even have to offset the car left or right to land back on the road. So to have the confidence, let's call it, to fully send it on these tracks, you have to have 1, track knowledge, 2, car knowledge, and 3, removing part of your brain at least to make sure that you don't break on the jumps. Obviously, anybody from the Scandinavian territories is going to have a sort of little advantage. They're known for it in real life. They just are used to this kind of roads, driving on it all the time, and it's one of those things where, it's like in the Formula One times, if you drive a track that you already know, you'll have a tiny bit of advantage. And I think we are already into the stages now, which is brilliant stuff, as we've got Aerotech into the first sector here. As you can see, we're starting off already 150 kilometers per hour, as if nothing is, going amiss in the world. You have to have so much commitment here.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see the trees as well. You can see the spectators on the side, so close to the circuit. So even though you're sending it at 150 miles an hour, it's just the extra challenge of having those people, those trees, those obstacles right next to you, and they do a pretty good job to stay away and stay out of having any issues.
Yeah, and the surprising thing is actually that the spectators in real life are closer to the roads than they are in the game. Codemaster has been quite conservative in the spectator placement. So, you'll often find arriving to an apex, so you've got somebody holding a camera to within about 10 millimeters of your front bumper. So it requires a little bit of sort of just focusing on the roads, not on the spectators, paradoxically. So if you ever go to a real life rally, don't stand on the outside of a corner. It's not a good idea. Just putting that one in there, just in case anybody wants to go and spectate a real life rally. But yeah, indeed, you've got to just be committed. And the thing is, in Finland is, okay, it's known to be flat out, but there are so many things to avoid and to not get caught up in. For example, the trees, as you can see, but also the banks on the side of the road. If you hit those banks, especially going 150 plus kilometers per hour, punctures, damage. Oh, as we got B-Roy straight off into the trees on what is the shakedown run, I think. So he might be able to fix that and get away with it, but not the confidence boost he'd like, just preparing for his run. It just shows you how quickly it can go wrong. And I think B-Roy just wrestling with the car a little bit, getting used to the setup. That's the thing that you want to be doing during the shakedown run, is just making sure that everything's working properly. It's a bit like the warm-up lap in Formula 1, essentially.
Yeah, but you want to make sure as well that your brain's working properly and you're going to be able to get the run going. As there goes B-Roy taking a barrier with him up to the line after that shakedown, and he's going to want to forget all about that shakedown run, even if he is testing that everything's working. And everything does seem to be working fine. And so we're going to be now watching Lyric Sander with that incredible setup of his traverse the shakedown run of his own, and just about losing the rear, almost flipping the car. He does indeed actually flip the car, and he rolls it twice, ends up on his side. Not what he would have wanted, and actually that was in the first stage. That was the competitive run, and Lyric Sander wants to pick himself up yet again.
Yeah, and the bonnet coming off, he'll probably actually be quite relieved that has come off, because otherwise if it stays on there for minutes, you just can't see over the jumps. He was just commentating on how difficult it was to keep concentration in French, and you know, he went over the jump, or the slight crest, let's call it, and he clipped the rock on the inside. I'm not sure if you could see, but there was just a hidden rock. You can see it for maybe 0.2 of a second before you go over it. And he just clipped the wheel, and that pitched him into the roll there. Very, very easy thing to do. But thankfully, it was a medium speed roll, so only rolled twice and was stopped by the tree. So hopefully not too much damage, but not the start that he wants, because as we keep saying in the Creator Series, you go at least 2 stages. Oh, straight into the tree. And that is probably a puncture, because it clips the front right corner there, and that is going to be devastating damage. And straight into a third tree. It's going completely wrong for Lyric Sander, and he's quite frustrated with himself. And this is not how you want to start your rally, because confidence is key here, and keeping the car in the best shape possible is key to a good performance here, especially with aerodynamics.
Exactly, and I mean, he's now got the mental side of it completely wrong, and he's just going to try and build himself up from the... Well, he's going to try and build himself up once again, although this is the stage where you want to be making those mistakes, because you've got so many other stages that you can just try to build yourself up once again. You can see how devastated that car is. There's no wing mirrors left, if that's his concern at all. But if we look here at now at Vlemba, the latest driver to go through, I mean, you talk about needing to know the track. I think Lyric Sander there, you spoke about the rock as well. That's one of those things that Lyric Sander hadn't quite picked up, I'm sure, about the rally. And now we watch Vlemba. This is somebody who takes his time to learn the tracks and takes his time to learn the rallies. And you can really see that paying off, because he's not in control of the car. You don't want to be in control of the car in a rally if you want to go anywhere near fast. But somehow he also seems also in control of it. He knows where he's going to dip a tire onto the grass. He knows where he's going to be flying in the air. And at the moment, this is looking like a pretty well put together run.
Yes, the rallying is quite often described, as you'd put it, as a controlled crash, but hopefully never getting to the full crash. And that is indeed what you have to do to get a very good time. Obviously, Vlemba, one of our main competitors here, one always in the hunt for the championship. And he's almost an adopted Scandinavian, I'd say. Being German, he's really, really committed, especially in the high-speed rallies. And it always amazes me that he plays on controller and yet can get such precision out of the car. I've tried it. I've tried to imitate him. It's impossible, at least for me. So for a mere mortal, which Vlemba obviously isn't, apparently, it's a really, really tricky thing to do. But he seems to be just taking this in his stride, and looking at his practice times as well. Because I like to keep tabs on how everybody's form is before the rally. He certainly looks like one of our main contenders, if not the main contender, for a possible win here, as multiple people such as Kamikaze, such as Contan Del Olmo will want to be going for. Oh, a small tap there on the tree on the rear. Snaps it into reverse, into first, all the way round 360. Gets going again. A little bit of damage on the side of the car, as you can see there, but no harm done, no puncture, I don't think. So just a tiny bit of aerodynamics, but that can come into play here oh so severely.
Yeah, and we'll see how dramatic the effect is on Vlembar as we head now through. We've got JPH on the left-hand side of your screens there. Much smoother FPS, it must be said, but he's also another one who could be right up there at the end. He's one of those who's proven himself so far on the rally scene, and as you can see, they're so controlled over that jump, so incredible. Just to see when a driver gets it right, it's scintillating to watch. And at the moment, just heading through the loggers, he's got so much control over that rally car.
Yeah, JPH, one of our drivers in Monte Carlo that had a desperately unlucky finish to the rally, just DNFing by sliding down a bank and not being able to recover the car. So he had a brilliant rally up until then. He was looking to be provisional first place on the rally, to be fair. And it can go that wrong so fast. Also worth noting, he is on a new wheel this time. He's got a direct drive Logitech, and so he might be, as you say, one of the favourites with that extra consistency, that extra feedback that you can get, which is oh so important on any game, but especially on a rally game.
Yes, I mean, as somebody who's been looking at direct drives, Will myself, and somebody who seems to have picked up a lot of information about wheels that I didn't have before. It's so important to get that feedback, to get that knowledge of the circuit, and JPH, he'll pick up the visual information, but just the feel of the car is not something you get without the force feedback on a wheel, and he'll certainly have felt that bump as he came down the hill, that's for sure.
He was lucky there, because I know, having driven that portion of the course, there's about 10 million bumps where he went off there, and somehow he didn't manage to flip the car. There's the rock on the inside, you can see it a little bit clearer there, but there's Sander hit, and he's gotten away with it. A conservative run, I'd say this is, from JPH to start off with. As he's bouncing, he's taken some damage from somewhere, because you can see the bonnet there flapping a little bit in the wind. That is not normal, especially if he's in the V-dub, as German build quality normally isn't that bad. But as long as it doesn't lift up, let's say, he's okay, because he can still see visually. But you can see over these crests, you're struggling to look for the apex, struggling to look for that braking point. And with so much to hit in this last sector, it can be so difficult, as you've got to essentially go flat out over the crests and just pray that you put the car in the right space. Look here, just left over crest, try and keep it as flat as possible. Then you've got to go slightly right over crest, then down left again into a hairpin, which you can easily spot and not spot and go through the trees, sorry. And then you are home and dry from here on out. Blast the accelerator up through the gears to the finish line. Will it be a good time? We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like a decently committed run for the first one, at least from JPH. Crossing the line, we don't have the time right now. Sorry to interrupt you there, Joseph, but we'll get the time for him, and I'll try and do a little bit of an update on the times in just a few seconds.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a look at the times myself as Vlembar came to the end of a run, and he's about to start another one. JPH coming to an end of it. The bonnet looking a little bit battered, the rest of the car not looking too bad after that first stage, and I'm sure he won't be. Where is he? He's 84th, I believe. On the standings, so that's not too terrible. He's looking further up. We will also follow through with him as he looks further up. Hopefully, we'll be able to see somebody who's on this broadcast tonight. If not, then they played at a first stage, a very competitive first stage, and JPH will be. I mean, he'll be searching for some of these other drivers, but not Jam. Jam's down in 235th, so he's got some work to do.
Yeah, these times are actually big in Finland. The commitment is kind of like a tarmac rally. So if you start lifting off on a crest, which is normally flat, you will lose 2 to 3 seconds straight away. And knowing that there's about, I don't know, 40 to 50 crests per stage, you can add that up and see that 50 seconds isn't actually a lot of time loss. In the context of things, if you want to fight for a win, you have to go flat out. But there's only so much you can do before you're taking too many risks. And before it catches up with you in Finland, really. Anybody that has won Rally Finland has had at least a tiny bit of a moment of drama, pushing a little bit too hard, be it just a wheel off of the road here or just a little clip with the bank. We've seen it every single time. And yeah, our drivers will have to be pushing flat out. Let's do a little bit of a recap then. We've got EXR Kamikaze leading the way in terms of the Crater Series standings after stage 1 in P4 overall, followed by Vlembar P6. only 4 seconds behind. So the battle between them is going to be oh so close as usual. But we've got a bit of a gap then to Jean Manche in 20th position. From what I can see, provisional P3, which is a great start for him, to be fair. Very, very good up the order there. But a bit of a gap then to Commander Biz in 37th place, 24 seconds off the pace. And it starts tumbling after that. The times start to get more and more and more as drivers are struggling a little bit for consistency and for pace. I have not seen Quentin Delolmo's time, which is a bit worrying for me. As maybe he's one of the drivers still on the stage, but I'd usually... No, there he is, 96th. 33 seconds off the pace with a 7-second reset penalty. He's had a disaster of a first stage after Monte Carlo, where he DNF'd on the last stage at one of the last possible moments to slide off the road. His championship has not started well.
Yeah, and he's got to pick himself up from this now, but it can only get better from here, from the sounds of things and from the looks of things as well. As well, we'll see whether he ends up near the top of the standings. At the moment, this is Lyric Sanders on the right-hand side of your screen, Aerotech on your left. Lyric Sander trying to build up after a poor first stage where he sustained a lot of damage, and you can just see how much commitment he's having to give, how much more he's having to push the this Volkswagen as he heads now through the stage, just throwing 110% as if he wasn't before. And now he heads over the crest, just full commitment, but somehow looking so relaxed on that face cam as well.
Yeah, he always is. Full commitment, full send, but also full entertainment. You gotta love Lyric Sander, no matter where he finishes on the rally. You were saying carrying the VW Polo across all of the crests, whatever's left of it, let's put it that way. Commander Biz is off on stage 2. I think this is the very big stage, Paella. And this is 23 kilometers of stage where you've got to be oh so committed. A brutal start, I must say, to this rally with such a long loop. And a lot of drivers will be full committed through here, wanting to gain back time. But it's on this long stage. It's on this kind of like endurance stage, I'd say, where you have to sort of be 9/10 driving. Oh, Commander Biz, huge snap of oversteer over the jump. You can see how tense he is on the steering wheel. Micro corrections, that little bit of doubt in his mind, let's say, about where he's placing the car. And it is having an effect. As you can see the car twitching over the jump. You've got ancephalosis as well. Double ancephalosis. I like this. The dual ancephalosis on stage. It's always cool seeing how they handle the wheel and their different driving style. And you can see ancephalosis just a little bit more committed. I think we're sort of in the same ballpark of stage here. So we might be able to see some corners from both perspectives. But you can see he carries the extra gear through the corner. And this looks like a committed run. Perhaps, seeing as ancephalosis didn't have too good of a first stage, he is putting the pedal to the metal now and wants to get that second stage perfect.
And that would be so good for him, wouldn't it? Because there's opportunities here, because most of the first runs weren't quite up to the level that we usually expect. We usually expect them around maybe the top 30, but we've got more drivers down in the 90s odd, and even further down. Ancephalosis very committed to this run, very committed to just as he heads through the loggers, trying to go as quickly but as in control as you can. As you can see there, great save from Ancephalosis as now he heads down the hill. But yeah, I mean, the first runs from these drivers, a couple of them, the likes of Lemba, more what you would expect. We got a fourth and a sixth right up the top. By the way, coming in chat, Vikstrom saying Finland bikes back hard if you're not careful, and we're certainly seeing that so far with a few mistakes creeping out in these early stages.
Yeah, famously Walter Roll saying about Finland, if I wanted to fly, I'd be a pilot. And most definitely, you have to be not afraid of getting airborne on these jumps. And what a recovery. I was convinced he was going off into the trees there. I was waiting for the car to snap around. But thankfully, just put the steering lock on full left and kept it full throttle. Lyric Sander just getting away with that. But as you can see, they are in the same section of stage here. The exact same corner. You can see from two different perspectives now, this stage, how bumpy it is, how different also the driving styles are. And it looks like Aerotech actually is having a great stage here, as you can see visually that he is faster through this section, oh so slightly, but it does add up after a while. You can see on the times as well that Lyric Sander has had some sort of disastrous reset penalty, maybe even a puncture replacement there, as he is more than 2 minutes down on Aerotech's time on the same bit of stage, as Lyric Sander just gets a huge snap of oversteer there, just recovering it once again. It is all risk to the wind right now.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of risks, but and not quite paying off at the moment. We saw him get very close to the trees earlier on. We could be seeing him get closer to these trees as he gets even more committed with 2 minutes to gain now on Aerotech. So it's not gone his way so far this rally, not just in that first run, but yeah, it's not going his way at all at the moment. And Lyric Sander just continuing on now, committing even more than he did before, if that's even possible. And now as he heads through, he's just going to continue. He's just going to try to fight his way up and try and gain something out of this broadcast.
The smoothness of Aerotech right now, he is very committed, and I think this is one of his favourite rallies to do, and it just shows in how good he is at placing the car on the jumps. If you look at the steering wheel, he's doing micro corrections, just enough to keep him on the road, just enough to keep the car pointing in the right direction, but not enough to unsettle the car, a bit like Lyric Sander. It's overdriving the car a little bit, trying to get it to go into a corner too fast, and that's speaking straight away. As I said that, he goes backwards into the corner and loses another part of the car. I didn't really know that this car had other parts to lose, but it looks like there was another bumper left remaining on the car. Sadly, that is not the case anymore, and he will want to get to that service area so that he can do some quick repairs and hopefully get some sort of performance back in the car. As you can notice, he's got radiator damage as well to add to his problems, just getting all the way up the bank there as well. This is a raggedy old ride right now, and he's pushing his luck for sure, as I don't think he's got a spare tire either. But thankfully, the service area has arrived for Aerotech, and Lyric Sander sending it sideways. That was a huge corner there right at the end. So dangerous to do that, but it's a good send from him. 11:15 for Aerotech. That is a good time. But would you believe, a minute off the leading pace of that stage?
Never ever complain about a send ever again, because that's just the sort of thing that we love to see. Aerotech P50 in the standings, and I believe we might be able to speak to him now.
Let's see. Tech, welcome to the comms box. That looked like a huge send in that second stage. Was that your tactics? It looked like it was pretty smooth. You look in control.
You're never going to believe this. The last time I have been in EA Sports WRC, which is a fantastic video game, which you should buy right now, was the last season finale of Creator Series. So I've actually, with my whole strategy, has just been like tiptoe. Everyone else is going to hit stuff. It's like me from 3 seasons ago, where I'm like, I'm not confident and whatever, but I don't know if it just started clicking towards that second half of that stage, and that is the one stage that I did practice. But wow, way better than I expected. I didn't expect anything near the top 50, but we're doing all right so far.
A lot of people having quite a few mistakes in the opening stages. So your strategy of keeping it consistent looks to be working well so far. What's the main difficulty, do you think, about Finland compared to other rallies?
When you get comfortable, that's when you die. It seems like, especially in my Twitch chat, I had a lot of people who had run the rally already trying to give me a quick warning saying, hey, the fours, some of them might not be fours, so just be careful. And I was like, okay. And you start going through a couple fours, and like midway through fourth gear, you're like, wait, I could start pushing these. The next one is the one with the bank on the outside that you'll just crash and flip. So a lot of the high-speed sections, some of them aren't as fast as they look. And if you get overconfident, you're going to be in the fence. So at least that's what I've been struggling with, is just kind of trying to stay my pace and not get lulled into overdriving.
Joseph, maybe you've got a question.
Well, just one based on what you said earlier about... you said this was the only stage you practiced. Is it all downhill from here, or are you hoping to just hit and hope?
I don't know. There's some uphills, I'm sure. But no, I know that the long stage is going to get cut up into little pieces, but Even just having that one stage, knowing like, okay, I know threes are like maybe this gear, and kind of just getting the flow of the rally and getting used to the car, is big. So even after those 2 stages, I'm feeling a little bit more confident for the back half of the rally. But this is when mistakes are going to start to happen, especially in the other 20K stage. I think it's going to be really a lot of attrition. So like I just said earlier, I think the biggest thing is just going, hey, like you didn't have a lot of practice, stay on your pace. And it proved right there. I almost had a top 50 time, and I definitely did not feel like a top 50 time. So I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and we might end up being somewhere at the end of this thing.
Sounds like a plan. We hope it works out for you. I think it's nearly time for you to start your next stage. So we'll leave you to it as you get your sim gloves back on. Thank you ever so much for the interview, and good luck for the next stages.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Always. Not always does it go to plan, though, because it's saying it, especially in Finland, saying it is one thing, doing it is the next. Because as you've seen, the commitment that's required, even to just go slowly, is maybe 10/10 of what you should do on other rallies. So you've got to be so careful. As Ryan has had a pretty good start to the event. He was just ahead of Aerotech on Pajala. But as you can see, quite a few people having problems. Confam having maybe a bit more of a problem there. But as you can see, for Kamikaze, even for Kamikaze, he's picked up damage. He's had a little bit of an accident there somewhere. So not exactly what he'd like, that's for sure. He said to me before the live stream, just for context, that he was going to try and keep it smooth, simple, and just bag some points on this one. It's not looking like it's going that way so far.
Yeah, to be fair, I think just keeping it smooth and simple is what you need to do, because we've seen so many mistakes so far, and we've seen some not necessarily perfect runs being right up there. I mean, we just spoke to Aerotech, who didn't feel as though his run was perfect, and he ended up getting a top 50 time just about. I mean, he ended up in 50th, but it's still a top 50 time. So, I mean, there's opportunities for some of these further down as well, who maybe made those mistakes earlier on, who've been able to fix those problems now. And they're just going to head into the next few stages with full confidence that they're going to be able to get that right up to the top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, just a quick thing when we switch back to Ancephalosis here. Yeah, he had made a mistake crashing into the same bank that Lyric Sander went into at the end of the stage. So Ancephalosis getting through the stage, he'll be a little bit rattled, I think, by that last minute mistake there, although nodding his head a little bit in acknowledgement that he got through the stage. An 11:08 is a good time. So it just proves to you that you can make a mistake. As long as you're pushing, you can still gain time on other people. Looking towards the times here a little bit for the first 2 stages, we've got Vlenbar in second place overall on that stage. As you can see, Ancephalosis in P40, 50 seconds off the pace. So there is quite a bit of a sort of a gap that you can get yourself into. With JPH there, I'm just noticing, in 39th place as well. So a lot of our drivers in the same bracket of pace. Let's see if we can get maybe Ancephalosis in for a little bit of an interview as well. We shall see. Here we go. Ancephalosis right now as he gets into the end of the stage. Hello, Ancephalosis. Welcome to the comms box for a little bit of an interview. We noticed it didn't go particularly well towards the end of the stage, but it looks like up until that point you were actually on very good pace and top 50 on the stage. So how's it going for you in your own words?
I'd say it's going really well. We did definitely have one boo-boo there at the end, but I'm happy I was able to avoid the reset penalty. We were getting pretty close to the pedestrians, but you know, that's what rally fans love, so I couldn't help but give them a little bit of a show. We did get spun around, but again, I'm happy it didn't at least result in a reset penalty. I'm very happy with the first stage was P46, second stage was P40. I'm usually in the booth talking about how we got to kind of claw it back, but I think we're right on pace. If we keep it up, then, you know, that guaranteed, I guess, allegedly top 30 is on its way.
Yeah, looking at the pace of other people, I'm noticing one common theme is that a lot of people are that you'd judge the favorites, whether they're on broadcast or not, are making quite a few serious mistakes, picking up punctures or damage. Even Kamikaze having a bad last stage there, 23 seconds off the pace. So the strategy of clean and consistent is one that all drivers talk about, but how difficult is it to implement that strategy of keeping maybe a tenth of pace behind?
Yeah, it's challenging, especially here in Finland. I think I really do think it's going to end up being a rally of attrition. You mentioned that we've got some particularly fast cars here in a not I don't know how to put it. Like, Finland, it seems like it should be the most casual, fun rally. It's gravel. There's not any like terribly terrifying segments that you have to go through, but it's the pace that you have to drive these cars through some of these jumps that sometimes if you're just a little unsettled coming through a series of jumps, you can really lose the car in the blink of an eye. So I have a strong feeling that unfortunately, yeah, there's going to be punctures, there's going to be wheel damage, steering damage, all types of things as people just can't help but hit those trees, myself included. So I'm just hoping to avoid damage, and I think it's going to pay off in troves for sure.
Do you think there's going to be? Sorry, you go.
No. I was going to ask you if I had a question. Carry on.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, you're not the first one to mention it. I'm sure you're not going to be the last one tonight to mention the fact that it's just you just have to keep going. You just have to keep out. You just have to make as little mistakes as possible. Where do you think your ceiling is going to be in terms of what are you going to aim for the rest of the evening as a bare minimum if you stay out of the trees and stay out of the pedestrians, hopefully?
Well, what I had told Gareth earlier, there's been some changes to the quote. I'm guaranteeing a top 50 here tonight.
That's a bold one.
I could guarantee you guys a top 50. I know I have it in me, but we are shooting for a top 30, and I think that's possible. Going back to what Izza was saying about backing off a 10th, I think one of my biggest breakthroughs as a driver over the last 6 months or so has been learning to let off the gas and use the brakes to get the car to rotate forward and get that weight on the front wheels. And I feel like that's a lot of what comes up in Finland is letting off the gas, letting that car dig into the gravel a little bit, and you might be sacrificing, tenths or hundredths by letting off, but the safety that you get from it, again, I think it's going to pay off in troves by the end of the rally if we can avoid some incidents.
Well, if it's any consolation for you, you're currently sat after 2 stages, P39 overall, 2 seconds behind Contan del Olmo. So you're in the middle of your sort of bracket for where you want to finish. So a little bit of a push and you could get inside the top 30 easy. Sounds simple, doesn't it? And we'll let you get on with that, maybe.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Pleasure as always.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you for the interview. Well, as every driver talks about consistency, but a lot of drivers are finding out that it's not that simple. Personally, with all the drivers saying that Finland is very simple, I'm surprised because I kind of call it the Dark Souls of rally, to be fair. Not my most consistent location, especially seeing as there's lots of trees for me to crash into. Oh, speaking of that, B-Roy, just having a quick inspection of the foliage right there.
I got yoinked.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I think it's one of those that looks simple, but it's actually not as easy as you've just got so many corners that lead into each other. You've got so many sequences as well, and I think that's what Aerotech was trying to say earlier. With you've got a couple of fourths, and you go, okay, I can take this one a little bit more aggressively, and then the next corner appears, and it's slightly more difficult. So I think that's what they're trying to get at, where it's just the sequences is really what does you in, rather than the actual complexity of the circuit itself.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's a case of just knowing your limits. As Aerotech said earlier, you've got to know the pace notes and where the danger zones are, because some of these corners can be taken flat out if you really know the line through it, but on other occasions, if you're slightly offline, even by a couple of centimeters, you can just clip the rocks, and that's the end of it. A lovely perspective here from Jam with that triple screen setup and the wheel just darting through the trees, trying to recover the car as much as possible. He's making it look easy for the moment, but I know for Jam this will be a case of just trying to survive a little bit. It looks like he's in the Mini, so one of the rare people that has not gone for the Polo today. The Polo, quite a fast car, I'd say, probably the fastest in the category, but quite prone to turning over, actually, quite prone to rolling if you get it wrong, and maybe the Mini, the most consistent car to go with with the third car, the DS3. Oh, as Jam gets that junction a little bit wrong around the tree, the Joker lap, lovely stuff, recovered without any sort of incident whatsoever, just losing a tiny bit of time. But yeah, you'll see most drivers in the Mini or the Polo, as the DS3 is lacking a little bit of horsepower for Rally Finland.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I think we've got most of them in the Polo, to be fair. Jam's the only one that I've seen so far who's taken the Mr. Bean car for a spin. And, well, hopefully he doesn't take it for a spin at the moment. He does sit, I believe it was 239th in the standings. So he's got a lot of work to do as he continues through this one. But, I mean, that's a beautiful setup for one to make this one work. He's got a lot to see. And I'm sure he'll have a lot to say. I'm sure we'll be able to bring him in for an interview later on at some point. But there's Quentin. We haven't seen much of him today. I mean, you say he's making mistakes. He's up there, right at the top. So you've got very high expectations of him, Mr. Harris.
I have high expectations, mainly because he is a world champion of sim racing and rallycross. So I know he is oh so good and oh so committed. And the commitment there was 11 tenths. Lovely, all up on the bank on the right, all up on the bank on the left, maintaining it on course. He is trying to claw back time after losing a minute to the leader in 2 stages. His time on stage 3, now on stage 4, but his time on stage 3 was good enough for 3rd overall. So he is clawing back time now, and he's probably pushing to the limit of his ability. And it certainly looks like it, as he's taking all of the corners to the millimeter to the left and to the right, just trying to maximize momentum. That's the thing about Finland, just so close to the trees there and getting a corner cutting penalty. You could hear him exclaim a little bit about that penalty just as he was getting it. He knew he was going wide, and that's the thing, it's all about carrying the momentum in Finland. With these cars, yes, they accelerate fast, but with the 4-wheel drive you want to carry as much speed through the corners as possible, and that just leads to carrying the speed and sometimes going wide or turning in too early to the corners. You can see them pace is there, but the consistency isn't. He's turning in sometimes too early, and he'll get in once he gets in rhythm, probably towards the end of the rally, he will be setting fastest times. I know that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to be scary right at the end of this rally once he gets into the swing of things. But I mean, getting into the swing of things is so crucial in any sort of rally car, and this is somebody who's not been able to get into the swing of it so far. Lyric Sander, he's made a couple of mistakes in the first couple of stages, and he's just looking to claw back even more time. I mean, he was going to drive aggressively from the first moment, but he's just gone over it, and there's a reset penalty for him. 21 seconds, not what he would have wanted to see on his time. And there's just mistakes that keep creeping out of his game and creeping out of that car. And Lyric Sander, he's struggling with that consistency at the moment, but once he gets into the rhythm of it, it'll all click.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what was going on there, as we've got RCJPH completing 35th place. I'm sure that's down on the times that he would like to achieve, because he's a pretty handy driver when he gets everything together. So something not clicking, maybe the new wheel, he hasn't got the settings dialed in just yet. That's probably my best guess, as he doesn't look all too happy with his performance for the moment. We got Vlembar as well, who's set some good stage times, but I think he's made a couple of mistakes, as I don't see his time on the board for stage 3 for the moment, which is kind of bizarre. I'm questioning myself as to why that is, so I'm going to go diving into the leaderboards a little bit, see if I can find his time.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be too far down unless he has had dramatic mistakes, because he's one that's always up there, Vlembar, and was able to push you last season very, very close to the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, there's a driver who's going to be possibly in the favourite seat for this evening's rally. Kamikaze, none of him makes mistakes like that. And what a save that was to keep it out of the tree right in front of him. And just to continue on and continue going. Wow, that was impressive from Kamikaze. Just to keep it going. And that is the sort of thing that you need if you're going to win this rally today. It's the ability to recover oh so quickly and to lose as little time as possible.
Indeed, yeah. I've just found Vlembar's time. He was up on the leaderboard. I just managed to skip over his name for some reason. Sat P4 on that stage. So the time's ever so close between our top drivers here. You've got Kamikaze on stage 3, just behind in P7. Just a couple of seconds off. So he's making a few minor mistakes, as you just saw, but he's managing to keep the car on the track so far. But yeah, it's so tricky to sort of get those last couple of seconds. You have to commit to the corners, as you are seeing. But the problem is that every corner could be the end of your rally, really, at these speeds. You're approaching corners 150 kilometers per hour, as you can see, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. But looking overall for the moment, Vlembar is leading our Creator Series standings after stage 3 in P3 overall, 16 seconds off. Kamikaze is a further 16 seconds off of Vlembar, so the battle between those two heating up a little bit. Constantine Olmo making a recovery, and I think he is now sat in P3 overall of the Creator Series standing. So the podium swapping hands for the moment, but there is a lot of stage kilometers to go.
And those top two have such a gap over the rest of the field. I mean, I was looking at it earlier. In terms of the overall statistics, from about stage 3, there's been a 30-second gap between the top 10 and then the rest, and then it's about a 10-second gap from 30th to 40th. So it's very, very close between the mid-pack and then right at the top as well. But it's very, very hard to bridge that gap. And that's something that Conti will be hoping to do as he heads on. That's something that all of them will be hoping to do. Maybe a driver like Ancephalostis could come through and surprise us. He's been surprising us so far with his relative pace being nearly up there as one of the quicker drivers on broadcast tonight. But we'll have to wait and see. He could surprise us even more, as he's just come to the end of another stage, so we will see where that time is going to slot in. We're watching Commander Biz, who've not seen so much tonight, rocking the merchandise. So always good to see. But now he's going to come over at Crest, just trying to keep it together. And yeah, he's right up the top of the hill there. And now he's got that run all the way down.
Yeah, it's so tricky to sort of guess which pace you should be going at, because some sections of stage you'll get a flow and get a feeling, and then all of a sudden the tempo of the stage changes. That's the thing in Finland. You get some technical sections like this here where you got to break down to 4th if not 3rd gear to make the corner, and it can upset your rhythm. When you're used to driving flat out for best part of a minute on some of these stages, going over the crests in 6th gear on the rev limiter sometimes, you have to start changing your driving style to suit the slower corners, let's say the hairpins or the junctions. It can really disrupt the feeling you had, and so one of the main things is just being adaptable as a driver. I say it week in, week out, being adaptable, but it is the theme of rally. When you're on a racing track, you can master the 13 or 14 or 15 corners, usually on average, and that's it. All you have to do is pay attention to the weather, effectively. But on a rally course, there's so many different corners, so much change of grip, tire wear, car damage as well. Your car is never pristine at the end of a rally. You always have either some suspension damage, bodywork, aero damage, something like that. And it can be enough to throw you off sometimes. And so to see our drivers go through these stages so committed is mesmerizing for me, because maybe driving it is one thing, but watching people just flat out is just a work of art, in my opinion.
But that's what I love to see, and that's why I'm so happy that we've been able to just get all of these drivers on broadcast tonight. You've got 4 going on your screen, so you've got your pick of whoever you want to watch tonight. Especially at the moment. You got Kamikaze coming to the end of the run, running over the Marshall as he came over the line. But his time is in, and it is 3rd overall, only behind Bickstrom, who's in the chat right now, and Hepsi in 2nd. So Kamikaze 8 seconds off the Swede, right up the top. Interesting to note as well that there is a Mini in 5th place. So it's demonstrating that it's not necessarily all Volkswagen dominant, as this broadcast would suggest, but it's certainly mostly Volkswagen dominant at the moment. But if you can get it right with a different car, then you could altogether be surprised that many 11 seconds off at the fastest time. But Kamikaze currently 3 seconds ahead of the fastest mini time, but still 8 seconds to go before he tops the timesheet.
Yeah, well, we'll have the opportunity to ask a few questions to the drivers as we get Kamikaze in for an interview. Hello, hello. Not the best of starts to your rally. A few mistakes we've seen, but it's on the road so far. You said you were going to try and keep it consistent, but that's easier said than done. What's your strategy for the remainder of the rally?
Send it and hope we get to the end.
Change of strategy.
Yeah, we was trying a new setup before the last minute change, so always stupid, but I think it's fast enough to keep up, but I don't trust it yet, so we will go with we will give it we'll give it a try now, and we hope for the best. I hope.
Why did you a question for the viewers? Why did you change?
Don't ask.
We need to know. The viewers need to know. Was there? Okay, I'll ask a different question then. Was there something with the car you were unhappy with? What were you unhappy with in terms of?
When I brake, the front end touched the ground, and that's why I changed my ride height a little bit to suit my driving style. And I'm not sure I'm gonna go back to the old one or stick with this one. It's two different setup. The other setup is very soft and easy to roll, very much grip. But I think we have a strategy will work now, so I think we stick with this one.
I mean, it's working as it stands, with obviously yourself up in P3. Are you looking to be at the top of the overall timesheet, or are you still just going to be happy by winning the creator standings this evening?
I'm not sure yet. It's so early to say, but it's fast, but not fast enough, if I can say it like that. Yeah, I think the setup will grow on me with confidence, and we will give it a push for the two next one and just take a look at where we stand after that.
Well, it looks like the setup is working. You're on equal pace with Vlembar and Contanzalomo on most stages. So Vlembar just ahead of you with that mistake that you made, I think, in stage 2, perhaps. So yeah, apart from that, it looks pretty consistent. So Joseph, unless you've got other questions, we'll leave you to it, Kamikaze.
I'll let you lock back in now, Kamikaze, and we'll enjoy watching you full send for the remainder of the evening.
Yeah, that will be good. I think we are on a different tire strat as Vlembar as well, so it'll be interesting to see what's best at the end.
Fair enough. That's one thing we haven't got into so far, but thank you for your time and good luck with the next stages, Mr. Kamikaze.
Thank you.
So, indeed, we will get the footage back in a second as we're just doing a few resets in the background, but they are getting another interview lined up. I think we'll have JPH in a second. JPH, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Okay, lovely stuff. New wheel, new equipment, upturn in pace, perhaps. So what's your feeling with the differences between old and new?
Feeling is 100 times better. I mean, I can't say anything about the driving at the moment. The driving is like 100 times worse, but the wheel is absolutely fantastic. It's just sort of getting better. I mean, I've had less than a week on it, and so it's just getting used to it on sort of all the different types of rallies. But yeah, no, I'm absolutely loving the new wheel, and I think slowly during this event it's going to start coming to, and hopefully show a little bit more of what's sort of capable with it.
Rally Finland, one of your favourites, or sort of one where you have to back off a little bit?
I like the roads. I don't like the pace notes. So it's kind of like one of those in the middle ones where I'm a bit slightly cautious, but I do enjoy it. I still enjoy the rally at the same time.
Seeing as you've got the tire graph up there, I'll ask one question before I'll pass over to Joseph for his questions. What's your strategy? Do you have any strategy for the tires?
Well, I've got two in my mind. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to go for yet. And there's basically two main strategies, which is 4, 6, and 2. So 4 soft, 6 soft, 2 supers, or you just go 4 soft, 4 supers, and 4 softs. It kind of depends, but how bad you want some power stage points at the end of it.
Enough.
Fair enough. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of mistakes from drivers tonight. Is that something that plays into your mind? Do you think that even if you do make a mistake, that's not all said and done yet?
Absolutely. I mean, any sort of rally, anyone can make a mistake. It doesn't matter how quickly. I mean, we've seen in the past Lembar and Cami make mistakes on stages. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you have a mistake, you just kind of have to put it to the back of your mind and just crack on and sort of just keep calm and basically not try to make up for it effectively.
Yeah, always disastrous to try and make up time in Finland. The trees take a fair amount of punishment before you beat them with a car. Don't ask how I know that. Definitely not have a reputation for driving into trees. But is there anything, as a final question, maybe, is there any way you can avoid making those mistakes in the first place? Or is it just a case of, you got to do trial by error?
Well, just being a bit sensible with sort of the pace into corners, especially over the crest, is the main thing around Finland, and just trying to listen a bit more to the pace notes. So that's pretty much all you can really do. Is sort of maybe back off 5% and sort of accept you won't be quite as quick, but you'll have a cleaner run.
Fair enough. That's a good explanation. Maybe Joseph, you've got one last question to give to Mr. JPH.
I mean, to be honest, not particularly. Have you got any stronger stages coming up that you think you're going to be able to completely bang out, or is it just a case of send it to the end? As we've just had Kamikaze coming in, and he said no strategy, send it to the end. Is it similar for you?
No, mine's very much more like get it to the end first. But I must admit, the other side of Finland, the side where we've been doing so far, is certainly not one of my stronger suits. So I think this side coming up is sort of more of a stronger point, but still it's more a case of get to the end cleanly and sort of pick up the pieces as and when they happen.
Okay, well, that's good words, fighting spirit to carry on for the rest of the rally. So we will wish you good luck in those stages that you are familiar with, and hopefully we'll see you with a good result at the end of the rally. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
And indeed, as it looks like everything is go again in the stages. Most of the drivers getting a time to reset, time to repair the car. As you can see, most of the bonnets looking quite smooth there as comparison to when they entered the service park. One of the things you've got to take into account is sometimes it's not best to repair something like the suspension or indeed other parts in comparison to the bodywork, because aerodynamics here with the speed is oh so important, and some of our drivers are finding that out already. You can see Ancephalos is very, very committed here. He's gone too early for the hairpin. You got to go around the tree. Whoa, what a recovery. Smile on the face. He got away with that one, but that could have been oh so different if it was a couple of meters before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, great save there. Not something that I would have been able to do, but now he's just got to put it to the back of his mind and continue on, as he's been performing incredibly well considering expectations so far. He's been taking, I've noticed as well, quite a lot of higher gears. You can see he's going 50 in fourth right there, and actually he dipped up to 50 in fifth in the middle of that corner. So it's very interesting stuff to see the different strategies played into it. I mean, we saw Contine earlier on taking with about 150 on that speedometer. So yeah, different ways you can play this, but both so far successful.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of ways you can play it. And you can see the commitment that the drivers have, because Ancephalos has made that mistake, maybe half a second of smiling, and then straight back to concentration, to focus mode. And you can see it's oh so difficult to keep your focus over the crest, because the problem is really when going into a blind corner is your eyes look for the first detail that can be pointed out, and the problem is most of the time in Finland your eyes will focus on a tree somewhere, and as the driving instructors will say at circuit racing, where your eyes go, the car usually follows. And if you start looking too much at the trees, you get disoriented and start going off into those trees. Some drivers, even such as myself, decide to go into the trees anyway, but that's another subject. The difficulty is really just spotting your line, sticking to the line, and making sure that everything follows suit. And coordination is of utmost importance here as you try and react as much as possible to the changing grip and consistency. As you can see, Ancephalos is a little bit of a shaker ahead there, not entirely happy with this one.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got the higher expectations because of how well he's done in this first couple of stages. And then, I mean, the recovery from that mistake has been quite good, to be fair to him. And, I mean, not necessarily happy with this time, partially because of the mistake I'd imagine that he made earlier on. But still a pretty good time, all things considered. And, you know, to be honest, I'd be perfectly happy with that, with whatever time he ends up finishing this one with. But, I mean, there's a reason you don't see me on the leaderboards. Yeah, I mean, doing well so far is Ancephalos is looking now. We've got a 4-car view. So feast your eyes on a bit more WRC. We've got JPH, Aerotech, and Commander Biz all joining us here. JPH going through a very technical section, but now coming out the end of it pretty well. Aerotech going over a crest, and Commander Biz just flying through at the farm field.
Yeah, feast your eyes on this multi-view of potential incidents as Ancephalos got it way wild into that corner. Two things to note really, just the different consistency of the drivers, some of them pushing harder than others, but also the different lines and driving styles that drivers are taking. Some of them try to carry more speed into the corners, and others will try and keep the more Sebastian Loeb type of cleaner line, braking a lot more and then accelerating through the corner. Both styles can work in Finland. The Scandinavian style being the one of carrying speed into the corners, but you can definitely see the drivers are gaining time in some corners, losing it in the others. I just want to also shout out to Gareth Allen, our producer. Sorry for butchering your name there, Gareth. But getting all of those point of views on screen, it's a very, very difficult job to do, and he's doing a wonderful job at it so far, must be said.
Yeah, Gareth Aaron doing a very good job there in the production booth, so hats off to him. But we continue on. We continue on with JPH as he heads through a section where you kick the car out, you're in a tree, and I mean, if you don't hit a tree, you hit a pile of logs. So there's not really much room for error here.
Yeah, for sure. There's just, especially on this section of track, there's just something everywhere. You look to the left, there's a bank. You look to the right, there's trees. Then all of a sudden there's bank on both sides. Then piles of logs that appear out of nowhere on the apex. You know, you've really got to know your stuff. And with the corners approaching so fast, the pace notes have limited detail to them, quite simply because there wouldn't be enough time to read out the information. So you've just got to stick with, you know, a system that is simple to understand and you know, gets the main information across. It's why pace notes, for example, for real life rallies are so developed and so intricate to each driver and so different, is because a driver will want to prioritize different informations based on his driving style, or you know, based on just how the car is performing, for example, if they're more confident or if they need a little bit more help in knowing what's coming up, or if they even know the stage, for example. So it's all down to confidence. Pace notes are there to give you confidence, and you've just got to work with them. And the main problem is just judging your speed according to the information that's being yelled in your ear as you try to listen over the car screaming, the high-pitched sound of being on the rev limiter most of the time. And then you can see JPH coming to the final junction here. Quick blast to the finish line, and it will be stage completed as far as JPH, and we'll try and get some times for you shortly. But it's looking like a decent run. As he said, he's getting used to the equipment now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a Sunday drive in these rally cars, is it? You just have to send it so incredibly hard, and there we go. Looking at the top, you got Kamikaze up there. You've got You got a couple of drivers up there, Vlembar as well. Not a bad time from JPH there. I believe he was in the top 20 as Kamikaze in 5th, Vlembar in 3rd. So they're both right up there at the top. And yeah, there we go. JPH did get a top 20. He got an 18th. But he's 16 seconds off, so there is a lot of time to find for him. And, I mean, there is a lot of time to find for all of these drivers. I think that's easy to say, sitting here in the comments box, not driving one of these rally cars. But it certainly seems as if there's a lot of time to find, especially in those early stages where they may have made those little mistakes. But now they're all a little bit more settled in. They're looking a little bit more settled, looking a little bit less like there's time to find. Having said that, B-Roy's just gone for a 360 and he's hit a tree, and I think he's been able to recover himself okay, but hitting a tree and spinning around, not ideal for B-Roy, whose time has just taken a tumble.
Yeah, sadly, radiator damage from that little spin there as well, just managing to collect a tree, as you said. And it can be disconcerting knowing that you've picked up damage or a puncture. He's getting oh so close to the bank there, which I know will 100% give you a puncture. It's looking like he's having to correct the car a lot, so I think he's picked up a puncture there, judging by how the car's handling. It's not wanting to go in a straight line there. If you notice, he's having to correct on a straight, which is, or on a sort of straightish track. We'll wait and see here. Actually, it's looking pretty good through here, so might take that back. That's a pile of logs. You don't want to crash into that, but he gets away with it. I'm just trying to get a view of how the car is handling, but oh, straight into the pile of logs on the outside. That is near enough guaranteed a puncture now. Yeah, look at the way the car's handling. Sadly, punctures can lead to more punctures, and that is damage compounding on top of damage. As you can see now, he's struggling to get the car to the finish. Thankfully, only one sector to go. However, it is quite a fast sector, so he's going to have to pay close attention to what he can do with the car's landing. Oh, just avoiding. Cool, this is seat of your pants stuff. Just avoiding the 1 mile boards there, which is sort of an indication that you're coming up to the end of the stage. But he is all sorts of out of control right now. I can only guess they might have even 2 punctures on that car. We'll have to wait and see at the end of the stage. But this has not been the stage that B-Roy wanted, that's for sure. Coming up to the finish line now, I can only guess that the punctures are on the right-hand side, clouting the bank, just about keeping it under control across the finish line. It's way, way out of control and straight into a spectator at the end of the stage. You can see there, the rear left is, rear right is completely flat and off the rim, and that is why he was struggling for grip right there. That tire has been deflated for quite a while.
Yeah, and 386th in the standings. Not quite where B-Roy would have wanted to end up. I think that's fair to say. And it's got quite a way to go up. It's got about a minute to go up to those drives at the top. Trying to spot some names as we head through, but I don't think we've got any names that are on the broadcast tonight. B-Roy might be the last of the lot. I mean, we haven't seen Jam in a while. And last time we did, he was in the 200s. So it may be the case that he's down there. We've also got some right up the very top as well. So we've got some quite contrasting times in the broadcast. There's Jam looking at watching himself in the broadcast. So that's very interesting cut that we had just there. Jam watching himself as he should be with those with that beautiful tank top he's wearing, showing off his muscles. Now over to Antiphalosis. Who's fully suited and booted to get a decent time on the board, and as he heads now through, he's using the gears so very high. It's very, very impressive that he's actually able to get those revs up enough to set a very quick time, and there he is as he comes across the line now. What sort of time is he going to get? The split is the 2:35. We'll see where that stacks up against everybody else. Not 100% sure whether he actually looks impressed with that or not. It was sort of a wry smile. 96th. So I don't think it was a very happy reaction with a 5-second penalty as well.
16 seconds after pace.
Yeah, I was thinking it was. I didn't expect the field to be so close. Sure. I said it was a good time then because I was expecting the gap to be about 20 seconds on average. But it looks like most drivers within the top 50 are within 10 seconds of 10 or 12 seconds of the lead time there. So quite a few drivers having a push stage there. Makes sense. It's one of the the sort of shortest stages, so if you do get something wrong, it's not too long to the finish line, as we saw with B-Roy. But yeah, one of the push stages, I'd say, where people are trying to just use up the tires and maybe gain a little bit of confidence back. Interesting thing really that Content Delolmo has had an up and down rally so far. Some stages where he's been leading the pack in terms of pace, and then he's made some errors that have dropped him a minute behind the pace, now a minute 30 behind the pace. And yeah, it's gone from a little bit just maybe over the limits, let's say, for Content, with the frustration from Monte Carlo possibly adding now to the frustration in Finland. He set his sights possibly on the championship this season, but the start of the season has gone anything but his way for the moment. As you can see him there just on the right hand, you can see how committed he is as we watch him throughout stage, I think this is stage 6 that they are on. They are halfway through the rally, but you can see just the amount of commitment. Fourth gear, going back to the gears, as you said, Joseph, you can get a bit more grip if you choose the correct time to downshift on this rally. So especially when you're going flat out, the higher RPM helps keep the car a little bit more stable in certain contexts, but then again, lower RPM is better for traction out of corners. So very tricky as B-Roy goes straight into the trees. That is a very high-speed accident. I think he's got saved there by the bush, slowing him down a little bit before he made those impacts. But again, not a stage where he wants to be making mistakes once again. You can see how difficult it is from our drivers' perspectives here, and how even if you want to remain consistent in Finland, Finland has other motives.
Yeah, as there you go, Contine missing a hairpin turning slightly early and wiping out the flag on the inside. But it's so very difficult to get going again, to pick yourself up after making a mistake, and that's what B-Roy is seeing here. That's what Contine has seen as well throughout this, throughout the end of the Monte Carlo rally, and throughout this is B-Roy now completely in the tree, and he'll do well he's done well to get back on the circuit, to find his feet again. Contine up to the line. We'll see what sort of time he's got in the next few seconds. But yeah, B-Roy with it, you presume more damage on that VW, and it's not been his rally.
We tried, we failed.
No, it's not been his rally at all. And I think it's just consistency there. You're just overcorrecting the car a little bit, maybe overdriving the car. As Wikström, as you can see there at top of the leaderboard, is really taking all of the liberties at the top, just setting fastest stage times. He's had a few offs though in certain stages, which leaves the rally lead open a little bit for the moment. But Content also in the top 10, so you can see the pace is there for Content. It's just the little errors, the little mistakes creeping in. And as a lot of our drivers have been saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I think that's the point that's been made most this evening, not just by you, not just by me, not just by the drivers, but even by chat as well. It is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's just about keeping that concentration and not overdriving the car, not getting too overconfident as well. But, I mean, it's a hard balance to find. It's a fine line in rally. Just, you've got to keep it going. You've just got to keep it. I said at the top of the broadcast, you've got to keep it in a straight line. Obviously, I didn't mean it in a legitimate straight line way. It's more of a, you've got to keep it going. And you've got to keep minimising the mistakes, as we've got JPH here, desperate trying to minimise the mistakes, but keep getting very, very close to the little dips, the little trees that we've got just right ahead of us. But that's the sort of thing you've got to do if you're going to gain time. And, I mean, with 3 drivers now threatening the top of the timesheet, JPH looking to become a 4th, the expectations are higher than ever.
Yes, what I've noticed actually is just the gap widening between our top 3 drivers and the rest of the field in the Creator Series standings. I'm noticing that quite a few of our drivers fighting in the midfield are having more and more problems, either with damage on the car or just lacking a little bit of, let's say, confidence in the stages. One of the problems I think they're having really is complacency a little bit is setting in. Oh, JPH just putting a wheel over the limit there, and he just had to overcorrect and sort of get the car out of the ditch as fast as possible there. Otherwise, he could have gone. That was the exact same spot that B-Roy crashed in, I think, a few minutes ago. So that corner catching out a lot of people uphill, and maybe grip lacking a little bit. But yeah, it just shows how the top drivers not only have the pace but have the consistency a little bit, as we're seeing some of our midfielders falter a little bit in these sort of mid stages, let's say, of the rally.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned earlier on Vikström being at the top of all of them. That was the definition of consistency is key, because he knows exactly how to do all of the stages, and hats off to him, because it's an impressive job to stay right up the top. And that is something that these drivers are finding. They might have specialist areas, they might have specialist stages. I mean, when we last spoke to JPH, he said that the second part of this rally is so much more comfortable than the first, and we are currently seeing a man very, very locked in, very in his comfort zone around the next few stages. So expect quick times to come in from the JPH camp, as we've got Aerotech now heading through as well. We'll see what sort of times he's able to do, as well as we've got double Aerotech as well. So, I mean, the more the merrier, especially when it comes to Aerotech. But yeah, just looking at him now, trying to see how much commitment that he's giving, trying to gauge how much he's got. But his driving style seems a lot smoother than some of those that we've seen today. I mean, every time we cut over to one particular driver, that being Lyric Sander, he looks very on the edge. Aerotech never looks like he's about to lose it until he does. I'm not sure how he's able just to make it seem so smooth, but it's just impressive.
Overdriving the car on gravel rallies is quite common, to be fair. I think you get lured into the fact that watching videos of rally drivers and all that, they always seem to be chucking the car sideways, and it's because they know the limits of grip of the car. They can feel the grip and judge how much sideways they can go without losing time. And I think one of the things as a up-and-coming rally driver, let's say, is that you try and emulate your idols, let's say, or the people that you're trying to copy the driving styles of too early. And so it means that you try and send the car into the corners at the same time, but you end up oversteering or... Oh, Contan, big crash for Contan there, straight off the road. I was thinking he was carrying a lot of speed into that corner, but he's gone completely into the course safety car there on the outside, ironically, and picked up quite a bit of damage to boot. No radiator damage, but he'll definitely have some suspension damage, and you can see the bonnet flapping about there in the wind. So not great. We might be able to have an interview with a few of our drivers that have finished the stages so far. I'm hearing Ryan is available for an interview. So, hello, Ryan. It's been quite a good few stages in terms of sometimes, and then a few mistakes. How's it going so far in your words?
Apart from stage one, where unfortunately my game crashed, so I lost the entire stage, which was a bit frustrating. But I had some good runs. Top 50 on, I'd say 70% of the rest. This one stage I've just done now, I was a bit off, but then gained a bit on my PB at the end. But overall, apart from stage one with technical issues, I mean, it's been fine. I've survived. Is the main goal. Being the only Citroen driver as well, I mean, I can take plaudits for that. But doing it for the French manufacturer out there. So just hopefully I can bring it home for the last couple of stages now.
How's the car sort of handling for you then, that Citroen? Is there a reason why you took the car specifically?
It's mainly because I wanted to be different to everybody, because I've seen everyone's basically gone for the Volkswagen. So I just wanted to be a bit different, bit of variety for the broadcast, have a car. I know it's not the fastest and for power, but I like the car. I mean, it got me into rally in the first place, Sebastian Loeb's car, this one. So thought I'd give it a run. It's nice. I mean, I'm only running baseline. I haven't changed anything on the setup, but it's just nice. It suits my driving style nicely. And apart from obviously the straight line, it's really nice. I have to say, it's really comfortable for me.
that bit about the driving style that you mentioned. I mean, how dramatic of an effect is this, or how dramatic is the difference between this and the VW?
Well, I mean, I come from a sim racing background of prototype racing, which I know John is aware of. So I've got to get used to a different, like, obviously we don't have dirt with a prototype round here, so it's a bit different for me. But I have tested the Volkswagen. I do find it's a lot better, but in some of the slower corners, I don't feel comfortable in it compared to the Citroen. And with the straight line, obviously the Volkswagen has, I fear for my life every time I go over a jump. But with the Citroen, I find it more comfortable. It suits me, and hopefully I can get to the end with this car and just see how we get on. I mean, it's a blast to drive. I love this car, and hopefully I can get at least another couple of top 50s in the last couple of stages, and just get that Citroen manufacturer up there instead of seeing a lot of Volkswagens.
I was about to say, my experience of circuit racing must be a lot different to yours then, because I know that from a personal experience that there's a lot of grass and gravel in certain parts that you don't necessarily want to go into, but I've gained a lot of experience from it, let's put it that way. In terms of your overall strategy then, are you going to try and push on these last couple of stages, or are you going to just try and get it to the end, as you say?
Well, considering my disconnect or dropout game crash in stage 1, ever since then I've just gone full belt, just go for it, have a bit of fun. If I crash, I die, I retire. However, I've gone a bit of on that last 4 stages, went with the super soft tire. While I was practicing, I did the first 6 on a soft, then the 2 short stage on the super soft, and then a soft at the end. So I've kind of gone equal distribution. So I did 4 with the soft at the start, then 4 on the super soft, and now the last 4 stages I'll be focusing on the soft tire, just to get me to the end, because I know we've got the power stage at the end, which may come in handy. But we'll see how we go, and whatever happens. But I enjoy this combo. I mean, I said it at the end of last season's broadcast that Finland's one of my favourite stages. Even if I crash, I really enjoy it, and with this car as well, it's made it even more fun for me. And let's see how we get on.
Sounds like a plan, doesn't it, Joseph? Unless you've got any other questions, we'll leave him go to complete those stages and win some power stage points.
That does sound like a plan as well. I think the last little bit looks like it's going to be a bit of fun. So enjoy.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks for your time. Much appreciated as always. So, indeed, with most of our drivers back into the stages now, we have some committed drives, let's put it that way. I think a lot of drivers probably focusing on the power stage at this point, trying to keep this. Most of them will probably still be on their second set of the harder compound tires. So the 2 tires we're running today are the super softs and the soft tires, if I remember correctly. So wintry sort of conditions. So low grip, but hopefully with soft tires they'll be able to do at least 4 stages, if not 6. So I expect the drivers who want to go for power stage points, they'll probably save that set of super soft tires right for the very end. But depending on the length of stage, you've got to be sort of tactical about your tire usage. One person that's not being tactical is Contant, as he looks like he's pushing flat out.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, when he's got such high expectations, it's just entirely fair enough that he's going to push this incredibly hard. And I mean, it's a spectacle. It's great to watch. As there's Ryan. We haven't seen much from Ryan this evening, but I mean, we've just brought him in for an interview. We may as well watch a bit of him. It appears as though he's not got his headlights on, which is very interesting in comparison to Quentin. Maybe he just feels as though he doesn't need them as he heads now, just heading through, trying to keep the power down, not quite getting it right, mounting the grass on the exit, but in the end, able to get it through without any sort of spins or any sorts of issues. it's those sorts of corners that can really trip you out, but it's also those sorts of corners that are the reason that he's picked up the Citroen. I mean, he said that he was really struggling in the lower speed corners in the VW, and so the Citroen, it felt a lot more comfortable in those areas.
Yeah, the Polo, as you can see with Contan's perspective, is a frequent flyer, let's say, and that's great if you want the car to fly. But the problem is that you have to be so committed, you have to be so confident that if it starts getting airborne, Contan just calculating that correctly, but it can go wrong so fast, and you have to be sort of on your toes with the Polo all the time. 315 brake horsepower compared to the 300 of the Citroen, so there's a bit of a power difference there. Concerning the lights, it's more down to driver preference. I think a lot of drivers saying that they get distracted with the main beam of the lights reflecting on stuff like trees and throwing off their confidence a little bit. So some drivers prefer to have less detail visible on the stage, so that they can, you can see Ryan there, forced to put the lights on as it gets, I think, darker during this stage as we approach dusk or night conditions. Ryan just clipping the rocks there. Lucky to get away with that, I think. So easy to do that, drifting wide on that corner. It's quite an off-camber corner, so you can not get the power down too early unless you want to drift wide into those rocks. But you can see also the lamp pod shaking quite a bit, so he's got some damage to the car. That can also factor in onto whether you have the lights on or not, because it can be quite distracting. And you can see there Ryan turning the lights back off because of that, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. There we go. There's the distractions coming into play for Ryan. I mean, he's come onto the circuit as if it never happened, but he's very much not happy with that run, and you can see it etched into his face there. He's just not happy with it. Citroen was easier to drive, but it lacks the power. Yeah, I think that is the general consensus that we've got. And Ryan, little eyebrow raise, knowing that it's not exactly the lap that he would have wanted, as he sends it into the barriers as well. So really not his day, is it, for Ryan? And it's really not his rally. And he'll be hoping that he can scramble anything out of it, even if it's just a top 50 in the final couple of stages that we've got ahead of us.
Ryan getting so far up the bank there. Once again, I'm surprised he didn't flip onto the bank. He's just sliding very wide and just not being able to get the power down, it looks like, as Contan nearly hits the barn there on the inside of the corner as well. So people risking a lot, quite a bit, testing the limits, I'd say, of their cars. But you can see Ryan's got the sort of telemetry up on his screen of his PB, and it looks like it's still in single digits, though. So whatever time he's driving to, it looks like he's quite close to his personal limit at the moment. As you can see, JPH as well. Looks like he's lost the main lights on the light pods, or they're not lighting up the stage like I'd want them to. So perhaps some damage there as well, which won't be helping him at all. As Ryan's taken a tyre penalty there off the road, and that is disastrous. It was going so well. So now double the reason to focus on power stage now.
Yes, definitely. I mean, making it to the end is so crucial. It's just a simple fact of the matter. It's more important than you would imagine, as that's Contine coming to the end of his run. We'll see where he stacks up against the rest of the field, and it's still behind Vikström, second place, 3.7 seconds off. Not sure how Vikström's putting all this time on everyone else, but Contine slotting in that second place. Nobody else recognisable from this broadcast on that leaderboard at the moment, but I'm sure they'll slot in the likes of Lembar, the likes of Kamikaze as well, but Contine setting a solid time. As now we're looking at Commander Biz heading through. We haven't seen much to note of Commander Biz this evening, because he's just been in the mid pack. His time's been in the middle. He's not done too much too dramatically bad or dramatically good either. He's just been riding that middle curve, and we talked earlier about the fact that it was just keep it on the road. Commander Biz at the moment doing a very, very good job of that, riding the edges of the circuit. This is a man that knows this stage well. You can tell that he's throwing it through all of the curves and down the hill as well. Not taking too much airtime, but yeah, this is, as I mentioned, a man that knows what he's doing when it comes to Rally Finland. The preparation of all the drivers will be very, very different, as you've got Ryan now coming up to the end of the stage. We'll see what sort of time he sets and where it stacks up against the rest of the field. But yeah, the preparation of all the drivers, so very different. So it's very interesting to see them all in there, sort of all slotting in as that's, yeah, Ryan down 342nd. So he must have made an even bigger mistake somewhere for him to be all the way down there. But we've still got Ancephalos's, Commander Biz, and JPH on your screens now. We've chopped Ancephalos's head off. It's now Commander Biz and JPH on the broadcast, and they're not looking too bad so far in this stage.
No, it's one of the stages that I think a lot of drivers will be more familiar with, let's say, because it's the short, two shorter stages that people tend to use for practice or testing for setup. So they'll be at least familiar with one half of the stage, if not both halves. And they've got a quite decent variation of corners, and that's why people like testing on these stages. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why they'd be pushing flat out on here. And I think also a lot of them might be on new tires at this stage. Not quite sure as to the exact strategies, as they don't really get published anywhere yet on the Creator Series. Maybe I can push and prod some places to get the people to commit to tire strategies before the broadcast. But in essence, one of the good things about these cars is that they do fly straight on the jump. Some of the cars can nosedive or nose up on the jump, so you can't see where you're going. But these cars fly straight, which is a bonus where you can commit a little bit to the jumps. Vlenbar, a bit off the pace there in that stage, it must be said. Although not many people being able to keep up with Vikstrom. But that's a great time from JPH there. 13 seconds off the pace. Unlucky for some, but not for JPH this time. So it's looking pretty good. And he seems to be getting more and more consistent with that wheel, I think.
Yeah, and it's just, rally more than anything else. You have to be comfortable with your equipment, and JPH just getting a bit more comfortable with his equipment there. I believe it was, who was it? It was one of the other drivers as well. The name will come to me in a second, who was looking to test his new equipment as well, but this is Aerotech, and he's well established by now. Well established in this rally as well. He's done a pretty similar job to Commander Biz, just staying out of the walls, staying pretty unbothered, and just continuing on through this one. Just, yeah, not making many mistakes, not right at the top of the leaderboards, and that can bring you a lot of benefits, because that means you're not going to make those mistakes. You're going to stay pretty comfy, and at the moment, Aerotech looking very, very comfy.
Yeah, one of the things that's visible in this stage is he does a great job of negotiating that very tricky corner there, which tightens at the apex, and there's a steep bank on the outside of it. One of the characteristics of this stage in particular is the camber on the road. Oh, just clips the pole on the inside there, got away with it, but that won't help his confidence out on such a long stage. I think this is the reverse of Payala. I forget the name of the stage, but we're definitely into the longest stage here. He's already 4 minutes in, but not even halfway. But you can see also the speed of the stage. 4 minutes in, nearly halfway, and it's a 23-kilometer stage. So actually, if you take it that way, he's got a long way into the stage already. But I'm noticing some bouncing on the car, so perhaps some suspension damage or something that's not very happy there. But you can see the camber of the road really has an effect, and you don't feel it until you start driving these stages, that if you get too close to the outside of the corner, you will just have no grip, no turning. So the reason why sometimes you see some of the drivers not using all of the road is because there is literally no grip to play with on the outside of the corners, and they prefer to keep to the camber on the inside, a bit like a banking corner on a circuit somewhere. Sometimes it's better to stay low and to just carry the grip through the corner as best as you can. But you can see he's very committed, not lifting off basically at all through the stage. And most of these corners, he is absolutely flat out as he tries to negotiate this very difficult stage at night as well. The combo could only be made more difficult by the presence of rain, which thankfully has not materialized.
Well, I mean, never say never, as the skies are looking rather murky over Rally Finland. But I'm sure the drivers will be hoping that it's able to stay off for the remainder of this one, as now he's over halfway through this stage, this long stage, one of the longer ones in this setup, as you mentioned. And it's survival of the fittest. Who's got the stamina to last 23 kilometers, let alone anything else. It's just who has the stamina to deal with it. It's a race. It is a race of attrition. It's a rally of attrition, but certainly these stages really test that attrition and test the mental focus, just to keep it going, just to remember all the things that you need to remember all those pace notes, because although you will have them read out to you, although you will have them you'll have them written down, you can't exactly refer to them when you're chucking it through trees and people at 150 kilometers an hour, as you can see Aerotech's going at the moment. So it's a very good test of these drivers' mentalities.
Good test for driver memory, let's say, as well. Because I've just noticed, just through looking through the stages again, this is Pajala again, so a second run of Pajala, as I just want to say off-screen, Commander Biz had a very lucky escape from a tree at near 200 kilometers per hour, just turning out of it at the last possible second, so he's on one as well. But it can be sort of like a disconcerting experience to drive a stage that you've already driven in a rally, but under different conditions. The stage that they drove Pajala, the conditions were in the daytime, I think. Here it's more approaching sort of nighttime. They've definitely got the headlights on, which changes how you see the corners. It changes what you can see in the corners and crucially, what you can't see as well. And that means that the lines will change as your driving style adapts to maybe taking a little bit more caution into some corners, and sometimes it can be disconcerting and throw you off more than help you to have a clean run throughout the stage prior to that. But definitely 2 times 23 kilometers is a lot to retain. And you were saying in pace notes, I think some drivers that are familiar with these stages will have a few corners mentally sort of noted down after the first run, but in essence, on such a long stage, you still will be listening to the pace notes quite a lot as you seek to gain that sort of visual memory of the stage that you have from the optimal conditions of daytime.
Yeah, it is a different scenario that they're facing here, because the sun has gone down. It's gotten rather murky over the circuit as well, so it's not exactly looking particularly nice out there, but the drivers trying to make it as nice as they possibly can as they head through it. And those pace notes on those corners are going to be so crucial, but the rest of it is just wing it and hope. They're just going to sling it into the corners and hope that nothing goes wrong, really. And well, this is someone where it's gone a little bit wrong for B-Roy. What was that?
He's driving with one hand, and I think he has some sort of puncture. He might be he's decided to end it there. He is retiring from the stages. That is our first retirement of the day. I think he got a puncture early on into the stage and decided that either he doesn't have a spare or he has called quits on that one, as he had a brush, I think, with a pile of logs just before that, as Commander Biz also had a little bit of an off as well in around the same place. So this stage catching out our drivers, we expect it to catch out our drivers. It is the longest stage after all in very difficult conditions, but I think just the difficulty of doing 23 kilometers flat out is taking its toll, especially towards the end of this rally.
Yeah, it's I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. Race of attrition. It's trying to see who's going to be worn down. It's a survival of the fittest, and at the moment, it's caught out B-Roy. He was our first retirement. It's caught out a couple others as well, although the likes of Kamikaze. Well, there's another driver gone, and there's probably a few heads rolling with Aerotech crashing at a terrible point for the spectators. But he's able to get it going again thanks to the barriers, the invisible barriers that we have on this game. And I'm hoping he's not sustained too much damage there.
I'm questioning whether he actually flew over the spectators there. That was an interesting crash. Also toward the end of the stage, this is the last sector. Let's point that out. So that would have been disastrous to get a penalty, a hefty penalty probably toward the end of the stage. He's kept it. Again, it'll be just north of 11 minutes stage time, which is great in these types of conditions, especially probably on worn tires. He's got to the end, and I think he looks very, very relieved. That's for sure. But it's a tricky one. It's so tricky. The problem with a rally of attrition is you always say it's a rally of attrition, thinking it's not going to be you that falls foul to it. And the problem is there can only be a few winners in a rally of attrition. And for most of our drivers, they're finding that out the hard way. A minute off the pace. You've got to give credit to the people setting the fastest times in this one. They are sending it.
They absolutely are, and they're just keeping it out of any mistakes, any walls. As thank you, B-Roy, for the raid, by the way. Shame your rally went the way it did. But I mean, it's just what we're talking about. You've got to keep it out of the trees, keep it out of the spectators.
There's like 5 left. I didn't hear if it was a Titans, if it was
rally, and it's just
a message for B-Roy as well, just in case. B-Roy, you can continue to the power stage if you wish. Perhaps there's something else going on, but I just want to point that out for anybody participating in the rally, that if you do happen to retire before the last 2 stages of the event, aka if you have a service area between where you retire and the finish of the last stage of the event, you can restart the rally with a time penalty, obviously, but you can carry on to the power stage and maybe get some power stage points. So if you're new to the rally competitions and stuff, that's something to keep in mind as well, that your rally is not necessarily over if you retire. A change that came in, I think, a couple 6 months maybe before now in an update, but a great update, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. He had a slight injury, so well wishes to B-Roy, and we hope you're able to get up and going for the next rally. But looking back at the Rally Finland, looking at JPH as well, the sun has really set, and this is one of those times where, I mean, we saw earlier damage as that's actually, not sure if he meant to do that. He's wiping some of the sweat away from his forehead, but he's used the windscreen wipers for it instead by mistake. But I mean, the sun is rapidly setting, and the damage that we saw earlier on Ryan's car, as there goes JPH into a barrier, and little raise of the eyebrows. He's not happy with that one, but he's able to keep it going. But the damage that we saw on Ryan's car earlier, that actually made the lights more of a hindrance. It would be just a killer to have in this sort of scenario.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to know which one is best, because, as I said, the glare from the lights can distract you. If you light up a blade of grass on the side of the road more than the road itself, it can just lead you to lose track of where you are on the stage. I think JPH shaking his head a little bit because of just he knew he was on the limit. Talking about drivers on the limit, perhaps we can get Quentin Delolmo in for a little bit of an interview. Quentin, the stage pace has been all right, but a few mistakes that we've seen. How's it going? I'm seeing there's quite a bit of damage on the car. What's going on?
Hi everyone. It's quite complicated. I know half stage of the rally, so it's quite complicated and really scary to push when I don't know the stage. So I tried, but I failed, and I took some tree on the car. Also, I failed the shakedown, so I didn't have the extra set of tires. So had to do like I had to do the 8 first stage with the soft tires, so it was really cooked. So now I am on the super soft tires, but yeah, I think it's going to be really slippery for the 2 last stage.
So in terms of just the stage knowledge catching you out then in terms of consistency, we noticed you had some pretty good times though. So the pace is there, just maybe not clicking with the cars today.
Yeah, in fact, I know a few stages on the rally, so when I know the stage, I try to push. And yeah, the pace is not bad, but when I don't know the stage, it's really too complicated and really scary to push. So hard to slow down, and you lost a lot of time. So it's tricky. I try to push when I can, but it's really complicated.
Well, if I can bring any tips for you from any of the other drivers that we've got tonight, is don't try and overcomplicate it. Don't try and overdrive the car and just, see every corner as it is. But what would I know? I'm not out there. I'm just sitting here. So, hey, don't take my advice.
One question I'd have for you, Quentin, is with your rallycross experience, is there anything that you can take from the rapidness of reaction of rallycross into rally stages that you don't know?
Yeah, I think the rallycross experience help a little bit, maybe on the reflex and maybe to send the car because that's help. But yeah, after all, the rally is really different, and at the end you are fighting against you. So this is the main difference with the rallycross. In rallycross, you have other car with you. And now the biggest enemy is yourself. So I need to focus, stay focused until the end, not like the first one. And yeah, this is why I try to push only when I know the stage.
As maybe a last question, with the first 2 rounds maybe not going according to plan, you still have high hopes for the championship? Do you have a strategy for that?
I don't have a strategy since the end of the round 1. So yeah, I will just try to do my best round after round. But I need to practice more for sure for the next one if I want to make a comeback. So let's see for the next one. I hope that I will be more ready for the rally. I will be.
Well, on that note, I think Joseph will let him carry on and do these last 2 stages. Best of luck to you, Quentin. We know whatever the tires, whatever the car, you will send it 110%. So we look forward to watching that.
Yeah, thanks for this last 2 stage. Yeah, I'm going to send in for sure. So let's see. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your time. And yeah, well, as we get ready for, it looks like everybody fixing damage at the moment, fixing their car. Yeah, for some of our drivers, this will be a more... will the car be able to be repaired enough for me to just limp it across the line, I think, for some of them.
Yeah, and I mean, with the way that some of these stages have gone, I'm not surprised that they look a little worse for wear. But this is where the real talent of a rally driver comes through. It's not driving necessarily with a full car. It's, for example, what we saw B-Roy doing earlier with a double puncher, or it certainly seemed like a double puncher on the rear. It was impressive stuff that he was able to just actually get it to the end of the rally. And yeah, that's something that's going to be oh so crucial for most of these times. Ryan's still opting not to use his headlights, so he's not going into the corners blind. Oh, there we go, he's turned them on. He's not going into some of these corners blind, but he's certainly maybe not as prepared as some of the others because of the fact that he's having to turn them off.
I think he's using the lights strategically, to spot at the end of very long straights I think he's turning the lights on so he can spot the braking zone or spot the apex. When he's mid-corner, see, he goes onto a long straight and then puts the lights on briefly to spot the turn-in, or on places where he's not confident. For example, that as he goes into a half spin, put it in a 2 reverse, but then he's going to reverse down the barrier into the tree. It's not gone well. He was sort of caught between a rock and a hard place there, trying to not reverse down the bank. But also not trying to drive into the trees. I think a little bit speedy on the recovery there, but he's got away with it a little bit, although the light pod looks as if it's going to fall off in any second now. Yeah, I think there is something to it in terms of using the lights strategically to not distract you through the corners, but using them to spot the next braking zone effectively as they are... both Aerotech and Ryan getting to the end of the stage. Aerotech, once again, as we've seen the entire time, very smooth, calm, collected, get it to the end, profit from the other people's mistakes.
And that's a Creator Series WRC champion for you right there. Wiser words than myself, knowing a little bit more. And I mean, absolutely fair enough. I mean, you can see it now that you actually watch the gameplay that's going on there. You can see it now that it's pointed out to you. It's one of those things. It's pointed out to you now. You can't unsee it. And just celebrating the end of that stage, it was a difficult one for Ryan as he was having to manage a couple of issues alongside whatever he was trying to do with the lights. But he's made it to the end, and we'll see where this time slots in. I don't think it'll be right at the top because of that spin that he had. But hey, we'll wait and see. As he ends up coming out in, I believe that is 50th, bang on maybe 51st, that Ryan slots in. So even though it was a big mistake, it's a pretty decent lap time.
Yeah, it's sort of around that mark that everybody's in, sort of in the midfield, where you can see literally 50 drivers split by like 5 seconds. So you're kind of in that range where if you go a tiny bit faster, you'll suddenly gain 30 positions, but if you go a little bit slower, you'll lose 50. And that's why I think Aerotech's strategy of just being calm and consistent is working. Because effectively, if you lose 20 seconds, that's a lot of time to gain back on a flat-out rally like this. And especially at the front as well. You've got some drivers that are falling foul to a few mistakes and all that. As a look at Contan, you can see that the tyres just have nothing left in them. He mentioned he missed the shakedown, so he wasn't able to get a fresh set of tyres. You know, basically for new people to the broadcast, if you do your shakedown and complete your shakedown, if you get to the end of the shakedown, it validates a new set of tires for you effectively, so you can use your used set as long as you don't change tires before the first stage. You can carry your selected tires into that first loop of stages or however long you want, and then instead of 2 sets of tires you have 3 sets of tires for the entire rally. So it's a considerable advantage, and especially for a rally like Finland where the tire wear is quite high, not having that set of tires, and especially now having to run softer compound for 4 stages, I think it is, it's starting to hurt for Contan. And you can see it in the long twisty corners where he's just waiting for the grip, holding on for dear life that those tires will eventually give him some turn in. But yeah, it's a high risk, high reward thing for the moment.
It's one of those things as well that you don't notice until the very end, and there we go. He slides off, struggling with that grip, as you mentioned. And, well, he's gone completely off the circuit there, or completely off the stage. As it has been pointed out to me in chat, I do apologise to those avid rally fans, as Contan's gone off again for my F1 terminology. As encephalosis, that's not something you see in F1 very often. He's upside down in the middle of a stage, a 5-second reset penalty for him, as well as some moments where he stayed completely still. So that has killed off encephalosis' time in this stage, not what he would have wanted to see. But yeah, I mean, all the times that are being set, not lap times, the times that are being set in the power stage now, an Aerotech, I think, might be the first one up to the line. He's had an unbothered campaign this evening, and I'd say he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'll back you up as co-commentator. I'll back you up. Lap times are looking very good for our drivers here. You know, it's okay. The terminology is there to be used. But I mean, it's interesting the sort of parallels that can be drawn between sort of like an F1 race and rally. An F1 race is kind of split up into multiple pit stops, for example, and strategies where drivers will push hard at certain times, then back off a little bit to conserve the car and conserve the tires. In rally, they do exactly the same, and it's of no surprise that the terminology can fit between different segments of motorsport, for example. Because in reality, apart from the driving style, there's a lot of similarities that you can draw from your commitment to the corners, how you approach a long event, because this event is nigh on probably an hour and a bit more than an hour's worth of driving. So you're approaching the total race distance time for a Formula One race, for example. You're not getting on the levels of, for example, Ryan's endurance racing, but you can take a lot of sort of knowledge between you if you play multiple games, and it can be of benefit, for example, for conserving tires or conserving the car, or just finding a conservative rhythm to keep with. As we see, Aerotech quite happy with their time. I think they've just completed the last stage, so I'll try and get some times up as soon as possible for you.
Yeah, and I mean, last time I was on broadcast, I believe it was G Watts' first time, or Watts, his first time on the broadcast in WRC, and I believe it was something along the lines of he downloaded the game an hour before, but that he was just able to just take the abilities over that he'd learnt on the F1 game and just bring it over to WRC, and he actually ended up not doing too badly on the broadcast. So, I mean, if that's not a demonstration, I don't know what is. But yeah, also thank you very much to Alex Gillen. We've got just over 50 of you, courtesy of Alex's raid, who are watching the end of these stages now. Aerotech's just come to the end of it. So has, I believe, Commander Biz. And the times are coming in now. We've got Kamikaze and Vlembar, who should be right up the top. Contine as well. He had a couple of stage issues, but I'd imagine in terms of the individual stages that he's going to be right up the top. There is Kamikaze. He's hit something. He's very passionate there. Is Kamikaze. I'm not sure what he's hit, but he's very upset at himself.
Yeah, Kamikaze needed an absolutely perfect stage to be able to challenge Vlembar. He's got it all so wrong once again. That'll be missed power stage points, I think, a little bit. He'll probably pick up 1 or 2 points, but unless other drivers make mistakes, he's making a huge amount of mistakes on the power stage. I think just trying to play it conservatively, pick up the most points possible, and then attack on the last stage. It's always the danger, really, of not pushing during the rally. You try and push for the power stage, then all of a sudden you're sort of not comfortable with pushing flat out anymore, and approaching it's a very, very short power stage. We're only 2 minutes into the stage and nearly at the end, so you've basically got to go flat out, and that makes a small mistake like that cost twice. And you can see he's so mad, so angry at himself for letting that mistake creep in, especially seeing as Vlembar has been his main championship rival for multiple seasons now. He'll be kicking himself a little bit that he's letting points slip out of his hands and into Vlembar's hands. You can see him just looking away already, and just not happy with that whatsoever. But, he's got to the end of the rally. He's got multiple points on the board. It'll be probably a top 3 finish for him. So it's not all doom and gloom, put it that way.
You say his main championship rival. Who won the championship last year? Or last season?
It was Kamikaze winning the championship last season. So he is our reigning champion. He knows how to do it. He took the season by storm in the first 3 or 4 rounds, just winning every single round, or at least scoring second place, I think, in one of them. And gained basically an unassailable points lead. And that's the way you do it, but a little bit more complicated for him, it looks like, this season, put it that way. But as we keep saying, every single season we get new drivers in, or drivers up their pace and level a little bit between seasons, and they come back stronger and stronger, and so the gaps between our drivers are getting oh so small right now, and especially with drivers such as Contant Olmo, who will eventually get some luck. We might see some changes at the top of the leaderboard. As you can see, Commander Biz just on the limit, way on the limit. I'd say even over the limit at some points. This is a solid committed run for the power stage.
Yeah, and I think he's gone for the exact strategy we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago, where it's just trying to fully commit, as that's a huge jump for JPH. But it's, yeah, talking about just staying, collecting solid points, and then absolutely flying out in the power stage. I believe that's what Commander Biz is trying to do in the final couple of minutes of this rally. JPH as well, looking fully committed, and he's fully sent it into one of the bollards on the side, and it's taken a trip. But I mean, it's looking decent for both of these drivers, unless they make a mistake here. JPH almost falling for the commentator's curse. We had a commentator's curse earlier, almost just had another one, but he was able to collect himself, and he's going to come up to the finishing line now. With what looks like a pretty decent power stage to finish us off, and Commander Biz now. Possibly, I think, one of the final runs of this evening.
Yeah, very tricky power stage, this one, because it's so short. You have to commit to the corners to get any points. And I think for some drivers that might be frustrated at their consistency a little bit, they'll at least take some consolation in trying to push flat out as we see Commander Biz into that last corner. Everybody's struggling for grip. I think that they've cooked their tires, most definitely. And that's the difficulty of this last sector, is that most of it is just all downhill. Hopefully, literally more than figuratively. And Cephalosis nearly clipping the final sort of board before the finish line. And you can see just how committed he is. Clipping the tree. He's gone all the way around. Can he? Oh, no. It was almost the perfect Scandinavian flick into the last corner. He was so close to it. Look at that. That could have been the hero moment right there. But sadly, Rally doesn't give you that many lucky points, and he'll come across the line. Nonetheless, a good rally from Ancephalosis. I think he's DNF'd here at least on one occasion, so we'll be happy to get to the end of the rally. And I think he'll be surprised at his position, as he's had some good stages there. Still enough for a top 100 there.
Driving lines?
Yeah, not too bad for Ancephalosis. I think he's looking pretty proud of himself at the bare minimum. But 76th overall, not too bad. Only 16 seconds off of the top. I'd be certainly very happy with that one, as he's going to help us out by looking further up the field. Ryan's there in 49th, trying to catch everyone else to keep going. Kuntine 36th, so I'm sure he'll be disappointed with that one. But not too bad in the end from Ancephalosis in that overall rally.
It looks like he had a retirement at some point, because he's 19 minutes off the pace. Which would indicate that he's had to either retire or he's had a DNF from that one. So I'm looking towards the leaderboard here a little bit. Let's see. We've got Vlembar P3 overall. So Vlembar is our leader so far. Obviously, there's a few of our creators that are running either off stream or at different times. So there is always the chance that that changes. We've got Kamikaze P7. So still a very good stage or rally, I must say, in general for Kamikaze. The power stage not going well, however. He won't pick up many points from that. Contant Alomo, P3 as far as I can tell for the moment, in P12 overall, but that's 3 minutes off the pace. So you can see the gaps were quite big. There was always that opportunity to be consistent. And JPH P4, as I try and scroll through the leaderboards to pick up. JPH in 19th place overall, so must admit, great turn of pace with that new equipment. We've got Commander Biz, P23, so that's 5th overall in the Creator Series standings. And as I scroll through, Ambient Mike P30. So we've got quite a few people in the top 50. I think it was Aerotech, or was it Ancephalosis, that wanted to be in the top 50. Sadly, that has not happened. I think maybe because of the a retirement, possibly a retirement I'm hearing in my ear. In different terms, it was expressed to me, but yes, indeed. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's see, who can we get in terms of interview? I think it might be interesting to talk to Vlembar, because we haven't had him on broadcast, and he is our provisional leader of this rally. Vlembar, if you can hear us, that rally seems to be very consistent from you and very fast. How was it in your eyes?
Yeah, it was a big surprise. I only had two, I'd say, minor mistakes on stage 1 where I clipped the tree and spun, and the second to last stage where I clipped the bush and spun. Except that, yeah, it has been flawless, so I really can't complain. I'm really surprised by my pace today.
And is there a reason for that? I think you go well on fast rallies, so maybe a bit less unexpected for you, or were you not feeling confident?
Uh, I mean, after last week, I was expecting something to happen, so I was preparing for that. But yeah, I think I just, when it comes to like the fast gravel rallies, I think Finland is just my most liked one, and I just love to send it here.
What was the surprise about the pace then? If you're so confident at Finland, why were you so surprised by the fact that you were right up there?
Yeah, to be fair, I was expecting Kamikaze to be like right with me or maybe ahead of me, because usually he excels at these rallies. But yeah, he had some problems today, so yeah, that's probably why I'm a bit surprised. And yeah, to be fair, actually overall also that I got fairly close to the top 2 there. So yeah, like I said, pretty good rally.
Some great points for the championship as well. As it with your result in Monte Carlo as well, adding points with Kamikaze, crucially having problems in the power stage as well. It's looking like you're building quite a comfortable sort of points tally for the start of the season. Do you expect your performance to remain the same, or are there some combinations that are coming up that you might not be so confident with?
Yeah, I just said it to Kami. Next rally, Sweden in the WRC. Not gonna be so confident like here. Yeah, I don't know why, but Sweden and really fast cars is not my type. So yeah, I think I just have to go safe there and see what I can salvage from there. And the rest looks okay to my liking. I think that's also all doable.
Okay. Well, Joseph, maybe you got one more question for Vlembar. If not, we'll let them celebrate their provisional well, it seems like victory.
I'll let you go and crack the champagne out.
Well,
Only
and then
after Isa has done his run.
Finland's not my best. I think it's probably safe to assume you've got this one in the bag. Let's put it that way. You'll probably find me wrapped around a tree in stage 3, or what is it, stage 2, Paella, isn't it? I haven't yet to complete that stage without crashing into a tree. So put it that way. But it always amazes me how quick you can be on a controller, and a perfect demonstration, it must be said, of how you can be fast no matter your equipment in this game. So credit to you, Vlembar. And it certainly looks like your season has got off to a very good start.
After Monty, yeah, much better. And also much needed points.
Well, thank you ever so much for your time, and we'll see you next week for another Send It rally where you'll probably be top 2 or top 3 anyway, despite your best efforts.
We'll see.
Let us have a look at who we also have to interview. We haven't had an interview with Jam this evening. That's the one person I'm noticing. So let's see if we can get a little few words from Jam. Hello there.
Hi.
In terms of the rally, we had a look at your awesome triple screen setup, which is always amazing to watch. It looks like you were enjoying yourself. How did the rally go for you overall?
Not good. I mean, overall, I'm happy that I made it to the end. But I realized partway into the partway into the last stage that I'm really tired. I had no food for the last 13 hours. I just realized I didn't eat yet. Yeah, so everything was lagging in my head. So, but bright side is I made it to the end with all 4 tires. So, and I had a great time. So that's always fun too.
The muscles pulling through for Jam. He's ready to face anything. So maybe
no lie. I don't know if you guys caught me when I was just vibing to the music, because I actually had to crank it because I was falling asleep.
Using the initial D strategy, I do like it.
Yeah.
Very good concept that is. But in terms of maybe Finland's not going to plan, there's definitely some other rallies that will go to plan for you. And
Hopefully, yeah.
one of the best things that I love is watching you vibe to the music. Is always very entertaining.
Very true. Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, it's part of the fun to do. You know, if it's not good content when I'm not having a great time, and if I'm doing bad, I may as well have a great time. So that's kind of how I view it, and yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't cut to you much because you did seem to be down there, but it did look like you were having, every time I was able to see you at least, a very good time, and that is, that it's important. So hey, well done to you, and mukbang stream after this,
Maybe. Or I'll probably
Always.
just pass the heck out. To be honest, I'm gonna crawl my way out of this thing and then maybe sleep in the dog bed behind me.
Well, that sounds like a plan amongst
Yeah,
other.
right. Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's the beauty of the Creator Series, though. I'll maybe put it into words. The thing about Creator Series is that no matter your level, let's say, no matter how experienced you are at rally games, you can always join in and have a lot of fun, no matter where you finish. Even if you sometimes don't finish the rally, you can have a wonderful experience with a rally game. And that's one of the main beauties of it. And I find, Jam, you're one of the perfect demonstrations of that, which you always bring a good vibe, and that's great to see.
That's really kind of how I view myself being a part of this thing. Because there's no way I can make it to the top spots. But hey, if you're watching the stream and you're looking at playing the game, like, here's a noob. Look at what I can do, and I'm pretty sure you're better than me or about the same. So you're gonna enjoy it regardless of how good you are or how not good you are.
He's not giving himself enough credit, is he, Joseph? He needs to be a
Absolutely
little bit
not.
less harsh on himself.
You don't see me on those leaderboards, is all I'll say.
And on that bombshell, I think we'll leave Jam go and climb into that bed behind him, I guess. So thank you ever so much for your time, Jam, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
jamming it out on the stages.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
And to you too. I think perhaps conversing with Gareth for a second, if we have time for maybe one more interview, we might drag in Aerotech. That would be a good one. Let's see. Aerotech, I must say, calm, consistent, collected, brilliant. Honestly, you looked just at ease there on the stages.
Yeah, it went a lot better than I thought it was going to. Obviously, I got all my racing drivers' excuses out when we jumped up in the booth last time. I haven't done a stage at all since the end of last season's Creator Series. I went into this one just going, you know what? You missed the round. Don't worry about overall points. Just take it rally by rally. And you didn't practice for this one at all. So just see what you can do. And it seems like there was a balance of people kind of driving within 80 to 90% and those going at 100. And Finland's a killer. There's a lot of trees, a lot of banks, as I almost went for a swim. I don't know if you guys got that, but it definitely wasn't a perfect rally, but I never expected it to be with going in kind of unprepared. But I'm like 43rd overall right now, and there's only more and more people that are participating in these, which you should if you're listening and thinking it's fun. So yeah, I'm overjoyed. We definitely had pace for like a top 30 or maybe a top 20, but hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, it sounds like another Aerotech enjoyment rally. Let's say you
Pretty
certainly
much.
looks like you're having
Yeah.
fun. Let's put it that way. So maybe as we said with Jam just before in the previous interview, there's an opportunity on the Creator Series to always have fun, no matter which position you're in, and perhaps maybe looking forwards to some other rallies. Are there some combos coming up that you're looking particularly forward to?
I was telling Jan the same thing. If I don't do well in Sweden, they're going to revoke my Canada card. If we don't do well in the snow rally, they're sending me back. They're sending me back home, and I don't want to go back to Northern Ontario. But a lot of these like downforce stuff has been really good. Anything rear wheel drive, it seems like I'm decent at. Like I said before, I'm kind of just not worried about the whole season and points and everything. I'm just going to take it rally by rally. And what I said going into this is you're going to do good. but not as good as you could have, you're going to get annoyed and then do a lot of practice for next week. So I'm already thinking ahead to Sweden in the Rally 1s, especially those being such a tough car in the sense of if you push it too hard, it's the incident's going to be catastrophic. So, yeah, no, I'm just stoked to be back. Stoked that we had such a good result, and going to try and carry this through the remaining rounds and see if we can build on what we've already started.
I mean, the way you drive pertains to that sort of, you just mentioned about Sweden next time out, where we noticed tonight that it seemed to be a lot smoother. You seem to be a lot more in control of the car than maybe others. So are we, what sort of thing are we looking for? What sort of result are we looking for out of Sweden? What would Canada be happy with?
I mean, anything, if we could just keep rolling these top 50s, that's awesome. Especially now, again, you can even compare to season 4, there's 700 or something drivers that took the first stage. I haven't seen what the total overalls are yet, but getting a top 50 this season is more like a top 40 or 30 last season. And that's just something you have to carry over. And myself, I'm not super new to rally anymore, but compared to people like Kamikaze and Vlembar and yourself, I can't keep up with you on pace. It's just not possible. Maybe in 5 years, but not right now. So I'm having the kind of strategy of I'm going to back off a little bit and just try to maintain the car. Yes, I probably could push these 4s and 5s a little bit more, but you saw it with Quentin. Ryan had issues. Encephalosis had a terminal. This kind of like smooth and like let's do what we know how to do strategy. I still had mistakes, mind you, but is the reason I got in the top 50. I definitely didn't deserve it on raw pace, but just that's what's kind of beautiful about rallies. You can take so many different mentalities into every stage, and it kind of shakes out different for everybody.
That's the best explanation of it that I've ever heard. I think, Joseph, that summarizes it perfectly, Aratak. I think there's a lot of praise for your strategy, I'd say. Being able to keep it calm and consistent over 12 stages, very few people are able to do that, including myself. So I think there's a little bit more credit that you deserve for doing that.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. And I mean, like, I did start falling into that trap. We're on stage 7 or 8, where I was like, okay, I've been so slow in these 4s and 5s. I got to start pushing it a little bit more. And that's when I started to make mistakes. I had a barrel roll. Luckily, I landed on the wheels, kept going. I had that issue where I was, probably 5 feet away from getting a terminal. So to kind of just take a breath and kind of back it off again, like I have to keep reminding myself, like, you're getting top 50, top 60 times every single stage. The people in front of you are probably getting those 40s and 30s and then in the hundreds and then up and then down. Especially on the long stages, it doesn't matter. Just do what you know how to do and see where you end up at the end. Because if you overdrive, it's only going to make it worse. And like, we didn't have any significant damage the entire rally. There was like an exhaust that we couldn't fix, but no punctures, nothing that slowed the car down majorly. And I think that's, again, another reason why we did so well at the end of it.
Yeah, brilliant explanation. I think we'll have to leave you to it as we wrap up our broadcast now. But thank you ever so much for your time. Thanks for explaining stuff that is difficult to put into words sometimes from a broadcast perspective. So yeah, just great stuff, and we can't wait to see what you can do on the next rally.
Thank you guys. Thanks for the host and all the broadcast work. I know it's a lot on the back end to take care of us 12 idiots, but hopefully we can put on another show in Sweden.
Certainly should be the case. Anyway, many thanks. And yes, as we said, it's about time to wrap up the broadcast. Just a word of note for people that want to take a trip into the lake there, as Eritek mentioned. Unlike in my summer car, it is not a terminal damage to go into that lake for some reason. But anyway, cars like water, engines like water, apparently, in the AWRC. We're fine. But yeah, what an exciting rally. I mean, Rally Finland always delivers, and what you saw was some on the limit, sometimes over the limit driving, and it was great having you next to me, Joseph, for the comms. Great job as usual. Where can we find you on all of the social medias?
So if you were to search up Kotkas, which actually isn't below my name tonight, but it's KOTKS on pretty much anything, I'll come up. I don't do much WRC stuff as of yet, but I do. I talk about all sorts of racing. So if you're a fan of any sort of feeder series, hi,
Well, let's have, just as a last thing, your final words on the event. What did you think personally about the event?
I mean, it was just. There we go. It's my name's being typed in below me. It was just, don't push it too hard. Was the whole. That's the bottom line. Don't push it too hard. Those that didn't push it too hard ended up right at the top, and those who did ended up further down. And it was a perfect demonstration of different driving styles working out in different ways. And tonight it was the turn of the likes of Aerotech, who looked very smooth. It's the smaller corrections rather than the bigger ones that ended up going and shooting right up to the top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, quite rightly so. Definitely. I think the drivers that chose to take it consistently and that managed to do that, let's say, reaped the rewards of that for sure, with many drivers falling foul in that last stage, would you believe? The shortest one, the one they thought they were just on the brink of success, just getting towards the finish line, and it falls foul at the last hurdle. Very common thing. Anyway, for me, you can find me usually wrapped around a tree, as will probably be in stage 2 of this rally. Anything at is amusing. You can see the username right there. And yes, I want to shout out as well, although he never likes me doing this, but I'll continue doing it anyway. Shout out to Gareth Allen in the background, doing all the producing, all of the video changes and swaps, and drivers coming in and out, and managing also partly the interviews as well. He does a formidable job every single time. And his position and job goes often unsung, so I will make sure I do anything to make him uncomfortable. Anyway, if you want to follow also all of the Creator Series stuff, you have the links right there above us, everything at F1 Creator Series, and you can usually find all of that stuff very easily, and there's some great content there to watch in the off times of the live stream and broadcast. But it's about time to end the show, sadly. Thrills and spills, and indeed it carries on in Sweden next week, where we go to an even faster rally on snow, and get this, in even faster cars, as we go WRC 1 for the parallel event with Rally Sweden, the real Rally Sweden. And that is going to be a spectacle to watch. So join us then for that. And if not, if you like the Formula 1 stuff, you can also join us Saturday evening for that broadcast. But from us two in the commentary box and from Gareth in production, it's time to end the show. So thank you ever so much for watching. See you next time, and bye-bye for now.